I just want to read out this quote by Allen Iverson. This is a quote from a podcast with Shaq. Here it goes. I lost the scoring title to Kobe the year he averaged 35. I averaged 33. And I'm just thinking, like, if I was to play in this era where it's wide open, if I can average 33 in a season, I'm going to just take it up to 43. I know 10 points more. This was a quote by Allen Iverson. Now, first thing I gotta say about Allen Iverson, when he first came out, I was amazed by him. He came out when I was in middle school, and I have to say, prior to Allen Iverson hitting the league, Michael Jordan was a godlike figure to me. I first started watching basketball all the way back in '91, so I didn't get to see the years Jordan wasn't a champion when he was losing to the Pistons. So my earliest memories of Jordan, I remember vividly, was him as a champion, him always being the best player in the league, him dominating, him owning the league. So when Allen Iverson hit the scene, there was this one moment where he crossed up Michael Jordan, and it was just amazing to watch. I remember I was in middle school at the time, and when this moment happened, everybody was talking about it the next day, seeing that Jordan had gotten crossed up by AI. It was like seeing a godlike figure look mortal for like the first time in your life. That's what I felt when I saw AI did what he did with that legendary move. This is what made AI just mainstream. I felt that one moment at that time. This is before social media existed and the internet was just in its infancy at the time. But I felt that moment was legendary. So AI from that moment forward really caught my attention as a young person in middle school, and I got to follow his career, the whole entirety of it. So I know his game very well. I have to say, during his rookie year, his scoring was amazing. He even had a record for a rookie, I believe, in which he had 5 or 6 straight games of scoring 40 or more. I think that's a record for a rookie, and it hasn't been broken since in that time span. AI was very dynamic, very explosive, very charismatic. He was an iconic figure from the moment he hit the NBA. He was a legendary scorer, a guy who had a lot of scoring titles. But one thing I think we're not always honest about AI is that his efficiency was terrible. For most of his career, he was a very inefficient player. He averaged only 42 overall from the field, and he was a terrible three-point shooter. That is very true. His three-point shooting was terrible. I know some people will say, like, well, that's just analytics and that's you just being a stat geek, that you care too much about his efficiency. AI still won a lot during his early years in Philadelphia. He even led them to the finals. So that is true. I'm not saying AI wasn't a great player. I'm saying his efficiency was his Achilles heel as a player to a large degree, and his not willingness to pass the ball often, if you think about it, was also a weakness in his career. He was a guy really that started the era of scoring point guards, if we're being honest. I know people are going to say he played shooting guard, but when I watched the Sixers growing up, him and Eric Snow were basically 2 point guards playing at the same time for me, to be honest. But the Sixers, they did win a lot of games with him being their best player, but they also won a lot of games because they were a great defensive team. That was like part of the reason why AI inefficiency didn't really hurt them when it came to winning games, because the defense they had was so good that it made up for it during that era. They were a great defensive team. They had some really good defensive players like Tyrone Hill, Aaron McKee, even Matt Geiger that was a pretty good player defensively, Theo Ratliff, and then they added Dikembe Mutombo. Those guys allowed AI to thrive and helped them to win a lot of games, considering those guys couldn't score, so AI provided the scoring. So it was kind of like a yin and yang type of deal with those two. But when we go back to the efficiency, he was a really bad three-point shooter, and I'm not a fan of three-point shooting, believe it or not. I hate this era when it comes to that stuff. But if we're being honest, and I look at the top scorers in the current NBA, let me just pull up the stats here. I just want to pull them up. I'm just going to pull up the scoring stats. Just give me, let's see. Okay. Here is the scoring stats. You look at all the guys who are in the top 10 for scoring, they're at least shooting 35 or more from the field from three. The only guy who's a terrible three-point shooter is Giannis, who's shooting 25.5 overall from the field. But it doesn't matter because he's shooting 61% overall from the field, so he doesn't have to have a three-point shot to be a dominant scorer in the league. Now, the guy I think that was very similar to AI, but I wouldn't say exactly 100% like AI, who's played in the NBA during his era, I would say Russell Westbrook. His relentless energy reminds me a lot like AI, except he's taller, he's stronger, he's super athletic. This is the guy I feel that was the closest to AI, and he did lead the league in scoring, I think, 1 year, the year where he won the MVP. He was averaging 31.6 points per game. But his efficiency was very much like AI's. Not a good three-point shooter, 34 overall from the field, and 42 overall from the field when it came to shooting. And this guy's taller, stronger than AI, and he plays a similar style, but he's still getting a lot of points. He's getting 31.6. I'm not saying that's little, but I'm saying he's not getting like high 30s. He's not scoring 37, 40 per game or something ridiculous. This is why I believe AI, if he came into today's era, I still think he would be a 30-point scorer despite his inefficiency. But to average 43 a game, I don't see him getting there. I really don't. Possibly averaging at his best season he would have in this era, I could see him possibly getting 35, 36 a game. Yeah, possibly. But there's just no way in hell I could see him averaging 43 without having a good three-point shot. And he never had a good three-point shot. He was terrible from three. I just see him putting up similar numbers in this era that he did put up in the past era. He was a very inefficient player who didn't have a good jump shot, but it didn't matter because he could get the hole too many times. Even in this era where defenses are not that good, they would still be good enough where they could rotate a guy in the paint for enough time to at least force him to miss some shots. I think he's not going to get like a ton of games where he's just shooting over 50. I only say this because the efficiency to get to 43 will matter. You have to be shooting above 50 to be averaging 43 a game, and I don't think even in this era Allen Iverson could hit that average. I just don't see it happening, to be honest. I just think it would be a great struggle. I also think Allen would get tired in this era. I know he had endless amounts of energy, but the constant running and nonstop running on both ends, I think would tire him out eventually. And that would lead to him not getting 43 a game. I think he would also get hurt more often, as weird as this sounds, because even though this era is less physical than the previous eras, I just think when you're that athletic, you're more prone to getting hurt due to all that constant running back and forth and nonstop, that you're going to probably blow out your knee eventually. It seems like that's a common theme with all these high flyers. They all get hurt eventually. You look at Westbrook, you look at Ja Morant, just any small guy who's super athletic, it's just only a matter of time before they get a knee injury or they blow out their knee. This game accelerates those injuries, I believe, due to all the constant running, especially when you can't hand check anymore to play defense. You had to constantly run back and forth. So I think he would get hurt too. That would also prevent him from getting 43. So that's just my opinion. I don't think he would be a 43-point scorer in his era. Still a 30-point scorer, but I don't see him reaching 43.